respect his straw poll, I came at 98% approval rating in the Republican Party. Is that right? And he's the boss of CPAC, except his wife. Mercedes is actually the real boss, but only I know that. So that's great. So 83. So I'm saying to Matt, is 83 good? Well, I just got 98% from CPAC. But they say that 83% is unheard of. And what's even more unheard of is 63% strongly support. And that's only because we did a great job. Together, we did a great job. I took care of the farmers, I'll tell you that. All right, let's go to
Okay, so that was President Trump, who apparently now says that I am the boss of CPAC. That's right, not Matt Schlapp, Mercedes Schlapp. And here's the deal. I've just taken over CPAC Now, America Uncanceled, our great show, because he's traveling and I've decided we're just going to make it into an all-girl panel. So I want to bring in the great patriot, someone who I just love, Congresswoman Cammack. Thank you so much for joining us. Or me, I should say, since I've apparently hijacked CPAC according to President Trump, but that's a totally different story.
Hey, President Schlapp, Mercedes Schlapp to be exact, pretty dang good. So I'm happy to be with you.
Well, Congresswoman, I have to say, I'm all joking around about it. Matt's been traveling, actually, Congresswoman, for 2 weeks in a row. I can't even keep track of him. We just had our premiere down in Mar-a-Lago about our documentary, The Culture Killers. We're going to do one in D.C., which you're invited to come and join us and the CPAC family. And then he's been in California and in Nebraska, where he went twice. It's been nonstop for Schlapp, and New Jersey. He just went there too. So needless to say, I'm holding down the fort, which is absolutely insane.
I love it. I love it. Well, nobody works harder than you guys, because you guys know better than anyone that we have a country to save. And it really does take people who are scrappy, who are gritty, who have a work ethic that is unparalleled. And both y'all have it in spades. So I know I'm a little bit biased because you're married to a Matt and I'm married to a Matt. You know, there's something about the Matts, you know.
They're solid, just solid. You were telling me that your Matt pretty much is there taking care of the house while you're traveling, coming up to Washington. So let me just ask you, because this is actually something that I think our viewers would love to know. I mean, how hard of a transition is it being a member of Congress, knowing that you have to leave almost every single week?
It's actually extraordinarily difficult. It is something that I don't think a lot of people are prepared for, the sacrifice that it takes. And I don't mean that in a like a woe is me. You know, there are so many people that work so hard and sacrifice so much for our country and, you know, our military families for sure. I think of, but, you know, being the wife of a firefighter, I kind of saw the other side of it where Matt was gone, you know, every 3 days for 24 hours. He works 24 hours on, 48 off. And then he's a SWAT medic. So he would go on these really high risk call outs and still does. And those can happen at any time, any, you know, time of the day, actually. And so it was kind of a flip flop where now I'm gone and he's the backbone of the family, making sure everything at home is taken care of, making sure that our chickens and ducks and dogs are all taken care of. You know, he really does sacrifice a lot in his own personal life, but to support me in making that weekly trek to Washington, D.C., which is, you know, you're up at 4 a.m. on a plane by 5:30, and then you're coming home at midnight, you know, at the end of the week, that can get to be very exhausting. And so having a supportive spouse is absolutely critical. And I think that's why you see so many older folks who get involved in Congress, because people with young kids, young professionals, it's really hard to do this when you have a family. So it's tough.
I have to say, behind every strong woman, there's a strong man, and a very patient man, to say the least. But I got to tell you, you know what makes it even more exhausting is that you have to come to Washington, D.C. and deal with Nancy Pelosi. That must just take all the energy out of you, Congresswoman. I mean, it's been bad. I mean, you have to admit, being in the minority, having to deal with Nancy where she can't even keep almost the squad in order. Tell us a little bit of insight of your day-to-day, what is not getting accomplished in Congress, and how bad, real bad, the Democrats have been in being the ruling party so far.
I tell you what, you know, I people ask me all the time about Nancy Pelosi, and I like to say that I am Nancy Pelosi's least favorite member of Congress. And it's something that I feel like I have earned, because there's a lot of really conservative, great members out there that get under her skin. But I feel like I have a gift in this regard, in that she's tried to arrest me once for refusal to wear a mask in the Capitol. She's tried to arrest my staff and my team for not wearing masks. When I brought my husband's SWAT vest and threw it on the table right in front of her, she didn't appreciate that when they were trying to talk about defunding the police. I've reminded her that in her 34-year career, she's been in office longer than I've been alive. She doesn't appreciate that. She doesn't appreciate that in those 34 years, she's overseen the murder of 62 million babies, and she claims that her entire career is about saving the babies and for the children. I'm just a walking, talking reminder of all the things that she is not and how she fights against everything that I am. And I'm her target demographic. You know, I'm a young college educated woman, and we're supposed to be these crazy liberals, but instead I'm the antithesis of that. And so I like to say that it gives me a lot of energy. Like when my feet hit the floor in the morning, it's kind of like, what can I do to piss Nancy Pelosi off today?
Oh my goodness, that sounds like so much fun. But you know, you're so right. I think that there's this complete assumption that, and the Democrats have done an effective job of doing this, where they basically categorize all women as this homogeneous population where we have to follow the party line, be pro-choice, be super big government spending, be open borders. And if not, I mean, you really do get blackballed. They don't like you. And so what I get inspired is when I travel across the country, being able to meet all these women, and even those women that, you know, maybe they didn't know they were Republican, or maybe they didn't know they were conservative, but all of a sudden their children are being impacted by this leftist radical agenda. As you talk to your constituents, as you also travel, you know, around the country, do you think that at this point we're getting to the point that the parents are waking up, these moms are waking up and saying, wait a second, maybe I might be a conservative, maybe I might be a Republican?
Absolutely. You know, last year I was in dozens of states speaking at a variety of different events, and it could be everything from a Republican annual event for a state party, or, you know, pro-life groups or parents groups and moms groups. Everywhere I went, I was finding people, and it could be at the event itself or while I was in transit or stopping somewhere, grabbing a cup of coffee, or, you know, talking to my Uber driver. It doesn't matter. I was talking to so many people who were saying, you know, I don't really do politics, but this stuff is crazy. I can't get like this. I saw what my kid brought home from school last year, and I have been paying attention ever since. Or I was raised Democrat my whole life, and I feel like they don't really represent me anymore. I feel like the Democratic Party has been hijacked by the Bernie Sanders and the Elizabeth Warrens and the AOCs of the world. And so many people are looking for a home of common sense, and they're finding it in the Republican Party, because we are the party of freedom and faith and family, but so much more than that. And so you see these people who are leaving the Democratic Party and flocking to the conservative base because they're looking for someone or some entity to really represent their values. This ultra-liberal left agenda of dependency and control, that is not reflective of who the American people are. And I think that's why we're going to see a red tsunami in November, but also why Biden will be a one-term president.
Yeah, and Biden, you know, you've seen the fact that the approval numbers are dismal. You know, Americans don't agree with where he stands on the economy, on inflation, you know, on the border. And quite frankly, it's going to, I think, and he's losing his own party. I mean, when you're talking about like 19% of Democrats want him to run again, they have no bench whatsoever. So, I mean, what are we going to do? Put Kamala in charge? That just sounds destructive. How do you think the Democrats can survive what's coming as a red wave?
I don't think they can. You know, I actually ran into a colleague of mine, a Democrat, and she is retiring. And we were standing in the elevator together, and she said, you know, I've never been more bullied, harassed, hazed by anyone or any entity more than I have by my own party in the last 2 years. She feels like she has been abandoned, and she's more on the moderate side of things. But I'm seeing that in all sections of the Democratic Party. There has absolutely been a hijacking of the Democratic Party by Nancy Pelosi's power grab, but also by the squad. And there's a real internal power struggle happening there. So I think that this is something that they won't survive. You won't see moderates doing well. I think that even those that are in Democratic seats that Biden won by like 8 or 10 points, you're going to see those go Republican because it has been so far to the left, so crazy. They've destroyed the economy, and it's all because they didn't like what President Trump did. They didn't care who got hurt in the process. They wanted to strip all of the policies that Trump had put in place that were America first, and they have made everything an America last policy. And it's reflecting in the polls, but it's reflecting in the grassroots, and we're seeing it every single day.
Well, it's interesting because not only are the Americans waking up to this, but even the comedians like Trevor Noah, not a fan of Trevor Noah's, but he was attending and spoke at and tried to be funny, at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, one of the most elite event anyone could ever attend. And so I want to go ahead and play a clip and get your reaction.
I think ever since you've come into office, things are really looking up. Gas is up, rent is up, food is up, everything. No, it really has been a tough first year for you, Mr. President.
So here you have Trevor trying to make fun of this, of really what are dire situation for Americans. I mean, I don't think this was a funny joke. Your thoughts?
No, but you saw Biden laughing hysterically like he took a cue card from Kamala. I'm not quite sure what was going on there, but I mean, it's true. Everything is up except for Biden's polling numbers. And he thinks he can survive this. He thinks that this is just, people don't understand. Yet he's the one taking cues from the Easter Bunny and trying to shake an invisible person's hand. I think that he and his administration are so detached from reality that you have more sense coming out of the leftist comedians who see it for really what it is. And now they're starting to get a little nervous because you have these entities like the Ministry of Truth coming out. And what happened to being, an equal opportunity offender when it came to humor and comedy? You can't do that anymore. Humor is no longer allowed because everybody now needs a safe space. And if you don't get that safe space, then automatically you're canceled. So I think that this is an unsustainable path for the leftist movement. And like I said, people around the country, they're waking up, they're sick and tired of it. Even the comedians, like you said, are popping their heads up. I mean, Bill Maher, for example, is starting to speak out. Chappelle, of all people, is actually backing up what so many Republicans have said for so long. And to me, that is the wake-up call that everyone around the country and the world is starting to be like, whoa, I think Nancy and company have really lost it.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it's been fascinating to watch. And I just think, for Trevor even to bring this up is just insane. I mean, it's just like, I don't think it played well at all. And I know he got criticized for it. But we also know that Biden spoke at the Correspondents' Dinner. His tie his bow tie was a disaster. I don't know who got him dressed. Obviously, it looked like he got himself dressed. But he actually made a comment, and you being from Florida, I would love to get your reaction to it.
At the same time, a lot of people say the Republican Party is too extreme, too divisive, too controlled by one person. They say that's not your father's Republican Party. Ronald Reagan said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear this wall down. Today's Republicans say, tear down Mickey Mouse's house. And pretty soon they'll be storming Cinderella's castle, you can be sure of it.
So there you go. Biden obviously trying to be funny, not so funny. Republicans really trying to tear down Mickey Mouse's house. Last time I checked, I think it's the liberals that are trying to destroy the innocence of Disney. Your thoughts?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, start with the fact that there is not one place in this legislation that was a state piece of legislation that says the word gay. There was not. It was basically don't talk about sex with my child who's 5 years old. Don't groom my child. It is inappropriate. Focus on what you are hired to do. Teach reading, writing, arithmetic, right? Simple. But instead, the liberals who have hijacked corporate America, they had decided to wade into this. And I'll be clear, Disney's a private entity. But I like to say you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And as a result, now Governor DeSantis did what we all thought was appropriate in stripping Reedy Creek of their special status. They now will have to pay taxes and do all the things that they should do normally. And that means being a good steward with the county and the municipality government. They will no longer have their own private police force, their own private fire department. These are all things that are going away because they wanted to wade in to an issue that they had no business wading into as a private company. But maybe if they focus more on their customers and entertaining kids in a wholesome manner, they wouldn't be facing all this blowback right now. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who are actually canceling their season passes and aren't going to Disney this year. And quite frankly, in this environment with inflation approaching 10%, not many people can afford to go to Disney anymore.
Right.
So,
right. No, it's true. And you've got, talk about expensive. You've got the fact of people saying they're going to cancel Disney Plus. Then you've got Netflix losing all these subscribers because then they put out these outrageous, controversial shows. I mean, people want to be entertained. They don't want to be indoctrinated. But there is one, I think, positive story here, which is Elon Musk and Twitter. You have to admit, Congresswoman, I mean, we were all jumping up and down, yelling, screaming, saying this is a very good and bold move by Elon Musk. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think I heard liberal heads exploding just at the thought of when he made that proposal, but then to follow through, absolutely incredible. And immediately you saw MSNBC and the limousine liberals start their war machine against Elon, right? Oh, he doesn't pay enough in taxes. Oh, we need to go after him. The man paid $11 billion in 2021, $11 billion with a B. And Elizabeth Warren uses him as a case study of why they need to raise the taxes on the wealthy. It's not enough that they want to tax your income and your property. Now they want to tax our unrealized capital gains. They want to tax assets, etc. So the thought that now she is going to be dragging him in front of a congressional committee and questioning him on, are you going to be biased against a certain political party? Are you going to be censoring people? It's like now all of a sudden they care. After all, for years, conservatives have been censored, have been kicked off, suspended on this platform, which has truly become the new public square. They only want to uphold free speech and our First Amendment when it benefits them. That's the bottom.
So we are going to be right back for more, but I got to say, you must have been a perfect student because I hear you got 100% rating from CPAC. That is so hard to achieve. That's like you and Jim Jordan and a couple others. It's remarkable. So we have to say congratulations to you for accomplishing that, which is not an easy task.
Thank you. Very excited about it. Very honored to have that rating. So thank you.
So stay with us. We'll be right back with Congresswoman Cammack.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Schlapp with CPAC, and it's my privilege to tell you that we've got a very important project that we've just announced, the First Amendment Fund. It's a brand new fund that we've created through our criminal justice reform efforts to raise money to take care of you, Americans who are being canceled and desecrated out there around the country. We know it just happened in Virginia, where parents were called domestic terrorists by the Biden administration, where people who just want to express their political views are canceled left and right. Now we have this terrible specter of a vaccine mandate where you can lose your job or be prevented from going to a restaurant or go to school according to your vaccination status. These are all the things that are happening in this country that are making people realize that America is in a fight to defend the principles that have made her great. If you want to be involved in this important effort, please go to conservative.org, click the link for the First Amendment Fund. Please donate to this C3 to help these victims across the country, including those who are just involved in politics, to make sure they have the legal representation they need to be able to live their great American life.
Welcome back to CPAC Now, America UnCanceled. Here with me, Congresswoman Cammack, and apparently we're going to be doing, a tailgate in University of Florida at some point, and we're going to bring the show to you, which would be so much fun.
Yes, absolutely. Go Gators. For all there is no other school like the University of Florida. I mean, I just have to brag on us. I am very proud to represent the Gators in our nation's capital. So we're looking forward to that tailgate, Mercedes.
I have to do it. I don't know if we can drag Matt Schlapp with us, but maybe it's just you and I, since I'm the Florida girl. But I do want to talk about something that really I think is so disturbing. And I'm sure the Republicans are going to dig deeper into this issue of Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas announcing this disinformation governance board, where you have this lady, Nina Jackowitz, who is literally did a similar job for the Wilsons. I believe it was the Wilson Center. And now she's joined the Department of Homeland Security to help shape, this is what she tweets out, our counter disinformation efforts. What the heck does that mean?
It means that much like Stalin and other dictators throughout history have had ministries of truth, they are now standing, and they, being the Biden administration, are standing up their own ministry of truth. And I think it's really because the American people are waking up. This whole woke culture has really has an awakening effect on the American people. And if you have not Googled this individual who is the Biden's appointee and Mayorkas's appointee for this Ministry of Truth Department disinformation governance campaign, please do yourself a favor and turn the volume way up, because this whole thing is set to the backtrack of a Broadway musical. She quite literally sings about disinformation and conducts herself like a Mickey Mouse character, which of course is now fitting given all of the recent events that we've had with Disney. It's absolutely terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And any normal person who has seen these videos of the information czar and the disinformation czar, I guess I should call her, they are deeply disturbed. This is stuff that happens out of the book 1984. This is insane. And we've always said that the fact checkers needed fact checkers. Now we're going to have a government department that is going to be stood up to basically combat disinformation. They have gone so far, and immediately Republicans took action. There's a couple of pieces of legislation floating out there about getting rid of the funding for this bill. This department. Unfortunately, I don't think in a Democrat-controlled Congress we'll be able to get rid of it. But rest assured, come January 2023, it is on the chopping block, and every single person, including that new czar, is going to be in the unemployment line.
Goodness, I know. I mean, and you brought up a great history lesson here. I mean, it was Joseph Stalin who termed the coin disinformation. They did create this type of disinformation office. And their whole goal was to push this propaganda because they wanted to stop the deception so that people would know their truth. I mean, this is so anti-American. It is so pro-communist. It is. Yes. I find this to be just something so disturbing. And the reality is that it's because this is why you have a comms office in all these departments. They're the ones that have to give the facts out. And the facts are very clear. And that is that you have thousands of people coming in daily, illegally, through the border. There is no control. Our Border Patrol agents are completely overwhelmed, and they don't have the resources to do their jobs. And the drug cartels and the human traffickers are in charge. How will this ever stop?
It stops when Republicans take back the House. I've been to the border 3 times. I sit on Homeland Security. I have questioned Alejandro Mayorkas 4 times to date. And each time he has called me rude and disrespectful for asking the questions that I have asked. And really, the way that I paint this picture for folks, not just in my own district, but around the country, is every town in America is a border town. And Exhibit A is in my own backyard in Ocala, Florida, Marion County. It's an hour north of Orlando. This has been twice now that they have found a brick of fentanyl with the stamp of a border cartel on it. What they are doing is they are getting these drugs across the border, inland, and the more that they get further into America, the more dangerous this becomes for our first responders and for our communities, because those drugs then have an even higher value and premium. They have found these bricks of fentanyl with pill presses. And just as soon as like 3 weeks ago, there was another bust in my district. Another 2 pounds of fentanyl was found with pill presses, with cash, with weapons, with illegals. And their intent was to create a new type of drug that they could pill press. And my district was going to be the testing ground, basically beta testing if this was going to be a different, better kind of high. This drug will kill you. My husband, as a first responder, goes to these calls and these overdoses every single shift. This is truly an epidemic if there ever was one. And the left wants to ignore the fact that the number one cause of death for individuals between 18 and 45, it's fentanyl. It's not climate change. It's fentanyl. And they don't recognize that it is coming through our southwest border, and our Border Patrol agents are completely overwhelmed. They lose operational control at 5,000 a day. And we're looking on May 23rd, when Title 42 goes away, at 18,000 a day. Tell me that that is not a crisis. And the administration refuses to acknowledge it as such.
And you all are looking to impeach Secretary Mayorkas as well. I think that's an important move. We got to get him out. It's just one of the first steps because it's just so sad how he has just shifted his narrative to adjust to the Biden administration and do their bidding.
Absolutely. Like I said, I've had conversations with him, and he is truly not in control. He is taking orders from within the White House, probably Susan Rice, if I had to guess. And I feel so much for the Border Patrol agents and their families. They are just dealing with a situation that is untenable. They need the wall. They need the policies to be enforced. They need Title 42 to stay. They need to have the MPP, Remain in Mexico policy, upheld as it was during the Trump administration, not a rework of it under the Biden administration, but how it was. They need to know that their commander in chief, which I call Biden the trafficker in chief, because this is really what's happening, is the trafficking of children. They need to know that he has their back, but instead he's turned his back, just like Mayorkas, which is why we're pursuing impeachment. He has not upheld his oath. He has made our country a more dangerous place, and he has put people's lives at risk, and he has done it deliberately. So I think that the hypocrisy and the double standard of what the Democrats have done, enforcing mask mandates on planes, but then lifting Title 42 at the border, that is disgusting, and it needs to be exposed. I think that they have left everyone exposed and vulnerable, and that is unacceptable. So many things that we have to tackle in the 118th Congress come January, and we will get there. But it starts with getting people involved, and it starts with people getting to the polls and recognizing that this is the most important election of our lifetime.
Amen. You're so right. It is about getting involved in these elections. It is becoming a poll watcher, a precinct captain, just being there to support the cause and making sure we get Republicans into office at all levels, because it just shows, even from the school board level to, the congressional seats, just as important. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, and we can't lose sight of the goal. Congresswoman Cammack, I got to say, you're like one of my favorites. Like, you're up there with Elon Musk and Matt Schlapp, okay? So I loved having you on, and I loved our time together. God bless you, and God bless your family for the sacrifices you all make to make sure that we keep this country safe and free.
Well, thank you so much. Likewise, and right back at you. And go Gators. Looking forward to tailgate.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. And thank you all for watching. And we hope you have a great night. God bless you, and God bless America.